Stop being a dick. Stop. Come here. There's Jane. How are you? Jesse, good. How are you? Oh. There's Simone. How is everybody tonight? I hope everyone is doing good. Aramik, how are you? AG, Rick, Troy, Amanda, Robert Sharp. All of my favorite people. Tijuana Border Jumper. It's Mustard. What's going on, my friend? Thanks for popping in. Good seeing you. Always a pleasure seeing you. Brian Mons, how are you, brother? Miguel, what's going on, my friend? John Franklin. Tigger decided to pop in. No, we don't have any flooding up here. You fuck. No flooding up here. We are, I don't know. We're too high up. We never get flooding up here. We're pretty good. Jordan Stevens, Grave Dank. I know 3 Cat Mom Tigger showed up. What's up, Eli? How are you? All right, sounds good, Amanda. Just got done beating the puck. I know, Brian Mons. You can't keep your hands off the puck, Wudgy. Ryu, what's going on? I guess it's down by like the Catskills, I think. I'm doing good, Jesse. Good. Thank you for asking. It's down by the Catskills. Jess B, how are you? Robert Sharp, I hope you're feeling better. Janice Morrow, how are you? Kathy Hayes. We're too high up in elevation to get flooded. It's only about an hour north of me where the Hudson starts. And it's not very big up that way. It's actually a really beautiful little area. I'll have to take you guys up there someday with the camera. Spirit Level, Sonia, how are you guys? Spirit Level Sonia, Jordan Stevens, Nicholas Carroll. Raven, how are you? I'm going to wait for to get 100 people in. I got an announcement to make to you guys. Marianne, how are you tonight? Actually, I'll just make it now. If anyone is looking for Mr. Shackleneck tonight, Brett had a stroke on Monday, and he is not going to be with us. He's doing better, but he sees the future as hopefully getting better, and with prayer for Mr. Shackleneck. I don't know. He's just a really sweet dude. Like, if you saw him in real life, you would be like, he's just this like big fucking dude, but his heart is probably as big as his shoulders. He's an old steel worker from, back in the day, and just a super nice guy. So let's keep him in our prayers. All right. I don't think much of it. I don't. There's pictures of Ed Warren carrying the Annabelle doll without mitts and stuff. And I'm friends with Jimmy Patanito, who worked with them back in the day and knew them all throughout. A lot of things are done for clout, like it's not what it seems like, you know. That's all I gotta say, and that's the truth. I'm not just saying it to say it. So you know, it's bullshit. You know what I mean? There's like if you go back and you look, there's actually real pictures of and these just it was in a rocking chair in the 70s and 80s, just sitting there, like, and then all of a sudden, when the time passed and things became they kind of became irrelevant, when then the movies came out and then they're relevant again, you know, it's fucking stupid. I just wish people could be honest because there's so much more about the real paranormal than making paranormal. You know, you don't have to make up paranormal to have it be scary as shit. Like the real Conjuring house was genuinely scary. Like me and Isabel were like had a couple terrifying moments there. So especially with the crooked neck lady on the SLS camera. So Monkey Crap, how are you? Tanks channel. Glad that you're here back with us. New addition to the pack. Good stuff. All the volcanoes here. Red alert. Cuties. Dang. Yeah, I read that there's like some stuff going on in the Yosemite area and all that. Sean McCabe, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Cynthia, how are you? Aramic, I'm going to be sending you something out this week. I'm sending you, Shackleneck, something this week. I found something funny that you're going to absolutely fucking love. So, so I've got 3 really, I think, pretty dang good lot lizard stories. And I've got, well, I got a stack of encounters right here. I mean, a stack. This is bigger than normal. So we're going to have a pretty good night tonight. Let me kick this door shut a little bit. Up. Hercules, how are you? Had a birthday party for the wife today. Everyone just left, so I well, happy birthday to the wife. I hope everything went well for you and your birthday party. Yeah, the area where the Conjuring house is pretty freaking creepy. SDL, how are you, buddy? Is pretty creepy. Excuse me. I had interviewed the guy that lives across the street from the Conjuring house, and he told me about a dog, or not a dog man, a Bigfoot encounter that he had. People have seen like these like crawlers out in those woods, and you know, it's that whole area is just rich with history and paranormal history. King Philip's War was fought there. That's like the bloodiest battle in America per capita. You know, so it's just like, dang, you know. Let's see. What's going on, Tyler? How are you? Julie, how are you tonight? I hope you're doing well. Wesley, September. No, not lately, Matt. Not lately. Just being decent and having good stuff. Paranormal shit. I'm not saying that, Amy, but I kind of have to maybe agree. I don't know. You know, but let's start this night off with, you know what? Since we're talking about I mean, actually, they were not scammers. I'll tell you, maybe the people in charge of things now, maybe. But I've heard some really interesting stuff with Ed and Lorraine, and Malachi Martin from Jimmy, back in the day. You know, there was some really cool shit that happened. But, you know, there's just a lot of weird, I don't know. I guess if you want to be famous enough, anything can happen, you know? I don't know. But let's start the night off with, since we're talking about paranormal, how about I got some Australian stuff for my Australian audience tonight too. I made sure I found some of that. So I found this, and this kind of matches up to my Ouija experience, which I thought was cool. I just got back from my friend's house. I hadn't seen him in a while, and we're catching up. I mentioned to him that I had messed around with Ouija boards several times recently. He told me he always wanted to try one. So we draw one out, set it up, lights out, candles and everything. I start the session, and after a few minutes of asking if there were any spirits that wish to speak, we get a yes. I ask it to move to a symbol on the board it identifies with. It goes to the sun. Then I ask it to spell out its name. It starts spelling Z-O-Z-O-Z-O-Z-O. I'm actually kind of curious about Zozo, so I ask a few questions about where it came from, whether it was male or female, etc. According to what it told me, it was both male and female, never lived as a human, and was born in hell. My friend thinks it's all fun and games and starts asking idiotic questions like, does hell have a good healthcare system? The planchette ignores his questions and starts moving in figure eights, and several times attempts to move right off of the board. I know that this is a bad sign, so I attempt to close the session. I thank Zozo for his or her time and ask please to move the planchette to goodbye. It instead zooms straight over to no. I say fine, and my friend and I will move it to goodbye ourselves. I pull it towards goodbye, but it will not budge. I pull harder. The whole damn board moves a fraction of an inch. It was like the planchette was glued to the board. I pull again, and this time it slowly releases and allows me to pull it over to goodbye. There was resistance, though, like I was pulling it out of molasses, which is kind of weird. Anyway, that is my experience. Nothing too crazy, but pretty unsettling. Thank you. So mine was well before Zozo, was like before anyone was even talking about it. Like there was barely cable when I had my experience. You know what I mean? Like there was no Discovery Channel or whatever. And we kept thinking it was spelling O-Z, O-Z, O-Z. That's how, one, we were so naive about anything. And we actually started to mock it and like say, you know, Ozzy's not dead. Or is this Ozzy? You know, like this was well before. And this is like 1994. No, 91. It was before my Dogman experience. So it was 91. Yeah, I was like 15. And so I remember when it would get pissed at us, it would do figure eights. And so the board nor planchette was ignoring the guy. Like it was doing figure eights as like a show of like disdain and pissed offness. So definitely crazy shit. If I missed anybody, what's up, Nick Hendricks? How are you guys? Donna Harmon, Maggie Mayhem, San Francisco, what's up, brother? Beast, Sasquatch and Grandma, how are you? Colleen McDermott. All right, if I missed anyone during the reading, Matt Fury, what's going on? How are you? Long time. Marcy Elwood. So yeah, if I missed anybody, I apologize. I'll catch you guys momentarily. Mammy, how are you? And Steven or Stevenson. Sevenson. There, Wolf. All right. This goes out to all my down under, my folks from down under that like the Vegemite. God, that stuff is terrible. Oh, Simone. You know I got love for you, but the Vegemite just is not good at all. DB Mac, how are you, my friend? I hope you are doing well. Mikey, There's Andy Davis, Christina Gonzalez. How are you? I don't like this flip thing that I got going on. I gotta fix it. There we go. Now it's fucking fixed. All right, so this goes out to all of my down under. Just down the road from where... That's fucking a terrible Australian accent. That was like a drunken Englishman. Just down the road from where a few years ago I had previously lived in Southeast Australia is the opening into 100-acre of woodland and bush that I frequently went into when I was younger due to usual things, riding and camping, etc. I was out driving at around 11:30 p.m. with my girlfriend, and as we were in the area, decided to show her the woodlands while we were in the area, as she loves everything to do with nature. And it was summer, so it was an extremely warm night. I left my car with the light shining into the trees as we weren't going too far, and it was pitch black inside, and the two of us just kind of sat chatting, having a ciggy, and generally relaxing. She was sitting on a sort of map of the area that had been put in plastic, and I was keeping an eye on the trees as I had a feeling something was just wrong. I've read and heard from different people that have said that when they felt there was danger, that there could be something going on. Every sense was almost reaching out and my adrenaline was up, but there wasn't really anything in my eye line that seemed any different. After lighting another cigarette or two to calm my nerves, I scanned the tree line and realized that it looked different than before. It was only after staring into the darkness that I saw that there was moonlight now lighting up the grass where it couldn't before, as there was a black shape blocking it before. Now I thought it was a tree. I immediately got goosebumps just typing that out. But the only way to describe it was that all the sound just ceased and everything went dead silent, and a few seconds later, this disgusting feeling of dread fell over me. I saw motion in the dark of the path as this thing crawled towards us on all fours. I've seen nearly every animal in the outback here, and we do not have any large predators like the United States or Europe, but somehow I knew this thing was a predator, and it was not hiding itself from us, but just slowly crawling forward towards us. I don't know if my girlfriend saw it or right as I couldn't look away, but just as it reached the line of my car lights were able to illuminate, it reared up onto its hind legs and just sat there staring at us. I'm 6'4". This thing was about another meter larger than I, with arms that were far too long that reached down near the ground. And all I could do, make out this off-white, almost yellowish fur on it. In the dim light, could make out a silhouette of its head that looked dog or wolf-like. I was unable to move as it stared at me, but it was at this point my girlfriend gasped, which seemed to break of whatever was stopping me from thinking logically. I grabbed her by her arm and sprinted back to the car, slamming the doors, and tore out of there as fast as I could, both of us too scared to speak until about an hour and a half later. We both discussed it many times, and the feeling that we had was what I imagine a rabbit sees when it catches sight of a fox or wolf. That is something that would be able to end both of us with absolute ease if it chose to. Neither of us have been able to come up with any explanation for what this thing was, but it has been definitely changed the way I view the woods and bush when I go camping or hiking now. I think back to that and wonder what it was and if I will ever see anything like it again. Dogman. That's what you saw. Well, I don't know. It sounds like a dogman, but its arms were almost touching the ground. So it was pretty big. Like most dogmen don't have that long of arms. It did have a dog-like head. He didn't talk about a tail, which I wish he did. Australia's got some creepy stuff anyway down there. Great people, but creepy shit. There's a map. Speaking of creepy stuff in Australia, there's a map of the world that illustrates light pollution. You can pull it up and look at it. The majority of the United States and its light pollution is on the East Coast. There's some on the West Coast, but the majority of it is East Coast. South America, where the Amazon basin is just pitch black. And then as it goes down, it's a little bit bright, like little pop-ups. But Australia was so interesting because along the coast is just these little brilliant pop-ups of light. But in the middle of Australia is just dark. So, there's definitely some like uncharted, unknown animal or creatures out in the bush that people just have not seen. I had to come into my job with Bigfoot, but I was going to get a coffee, but before my shift was over. What's up, Sea Mustard? Oh, it's always a pleasure to see my friend Sea Mustard. This is the guy right there that I was telling you about. I hope you guys went and checked out his channel. Pups, how are you? His channel is super amazing. He is brilliant writer. Not creepypasta. He does some funny shit. Like when I say funny shit, it is funny. And the majority of you guys have sense of humor like I do. So if you haven't, go and check it out. It's some good stuff. Matt Fury, been in Australia Cavern. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I'd like to go and check out some Australia someday. I'll have to go hang out with Simone and all my other Aussie friends when I go eat some Vegemite. I have a question. Have you ever gotten a story about witches or people who have claimed to be witches? Yeah, I have. I actually have. I don't know how. What's up, Paige Neighbors? How are you? I don't know how I feel too much. I don't feel too much about that. I know that there can be like witches or Wiccan and shit like that, but I'm not a big fan of it, and I tend to view it like it's hard to like really take seriously because there are those people that really do practice like either white or black. But then there's this people that just say it because they want to be fucking, they're like adult that are still prepubescent. You know what I mean? Blue Days, how are you? Thank you, Paul. Thank you. Yeah, I never understood the whole witchcraft thing. Monkey crap, just the basic jewel, same jewel as every week, my friend. This is an experience. What are we? We're about 6 minutes till. Yeah. All right. So this is an experience from Fort Hood. So what we'll do is we'll do this experience. It's a little longer. Savage Lunatic, what's going on? It's a little longer, and we'll do this, and then we'll jump into a lot lizard story. Jim Baker, does Tammy need to put a whooping on you? You know there's no weed in that. I've been sober for too long. There's no way that I'd be able to. I don't know. I'm not even gonna attempt smoking weed because I'm too afraid that it would just bring me back to dope. What's up, Brock? Coley? This event took place in 1992. I was just a young guy in the military. I was stationed at Fort Hood, Texas at the time. Those of you that are familiar with Fort Hood will know what I am talking about when I say North Fort Hood. For those of you that are not, let me try and explain so you better understand why we were where we were when this happened. Fort Hood is a large military base. It's probably one of the largest military bases by land in the United States. The main base, where you would find all of the buildings and motor pools full of vehicles and so forth, is just called Fort Hood. It is on the south end of the overall land that comprises Fort Hood and just outside the gates of a town called Killeen. Most of Fort Hood is wilderness. That wilderness is training area for soldiers to go and train in. And there is also a large impact area for artillery units that have to train with their cannons. At the northern end of the base, there is a small complex called North Fort Hood. It takes about 30 to 40 minutes to drive from the main base up to North Fort Hood. In the early 90s, there was not much in the way of buildings or infrastructure in North Fort Hood. The unit I was assigned to had to calibrate a piece of equipment, and that meant it had to be set up and left in place for about a week while the calibration took place. I'm not going to get into the details about this equipment, but it's not vital to the story anyway. What is important to note is that we had to set this equipment up at North Fort Hood during the process. During the day, we had some soldiers who were there working on calibrations, but at night, we obviously were not just going to leave the expensive equipment unguarded. So every night, we would leave 2 soldiers with the equipment to keep an eye on things and make sure nothing happened to it. It was very easy duty by every measure. There was a tent to stay in and plenty of food. Soldiers who stayed the night to guard the equipment and got off the next day. Basically, we would just sit in the tent, play cards or some other game, and just keep an eye on things. It was basically camping. I volunteered to take Thursday night as my turn at guard duty. This was because I had vacation/leave time starting the following Monday. My rationale was simple. Take guard duty on Thursday night, get Friday off, and start my leave time early. It was myself and another young soldier who was a friend of mine. Both of us were just kids. I had just turned 21, and I believe he was 19 still. Keep in mind that this is 92, so while cell phones did exist, they were by no means as prolific as they are now. It was actually pretty rare to see a person with a cell phone, and when you did, they were these big leather case carrying bags. They were huge, and we called them bag phones, and they were very expensive. Needless to say, neither of us had a cell phone. Why is this important? Because we were dropped off for guard duty at 5 p.m., and everyone else had left. We had no vehicle and no way to communicate with anyone. We were entirely alone if anything happened, and of course, we were not expecting anything to happen. It was, after all, very easy duty. Watch equipment, play cards, eat chow, no problem. We're sitting in the tent when the first wind started to kick up, and I noticed storm clouds moving in from the west. Now, whoever they had set the hex tent up apparently had no interest in doing it properly, because as the winds got worse, the tent was leaning as though it might fold in at any time. Clearly, we were about to get hit with a pretty severe thunderstorm, and anyone who has ever lived in central Texas can tell you that the storms there can blow up quick and pretty violent. Fortunately for us, there was a 2.5 truck there with a shelter on the back. For those of you who don't know, a 2.5 is a large 6-wheel drive truck. And if you want to get an idea of what they look like, Google M35A2 truck. This particular truck had a shelter on the back, and that is where we retreated to in order to get out of the path of the approaching storm. Before anyone asks, I should note that we could not drive the truck away from the campsite because it was needed for the calibration, and we would not abandon our post anyway. This falls under the first general order, and anyone who has ever been in the military knows what I mean. So we secured ourselves in the shelter while the storm passes. It was a typical Texas frog strangler for sure. Miraculously, the tent did not blow over, and I was surprised by that. Still, we decided to stay in the back of the truck until dawn, as we had already moved one of the cots inside. We finally laid down at around 10 p.m., and it got real quiet. This was a very remote area, and while we were in a clearing next to the runway, there were no buildings present, and all around this airstrip was just woods. Today, there are buildings there, as I have recently looked at the location on Google Maps. At any rate, we had left the door on the shelter just slightly ajar for two reasons. Because the shelter had no power running to it, so there was no airflow going through. Shutting the door would have left us susceptible to the effects of carbon monoxide. We needed fresh air. We needed to be able to hear what was going on. Aramaic! Thank you, my brother. We decided to take turns getting some rest, although we had been told we were allowed to sleep if we wanted to. We were still on base, and there was absolutely no reason to expect that anything at all was going to happen. My friend was on the cot by the door of the shelter, and I was on the floor at the other end. I felt like I had just dozed off when I was shaken violently awake. It was my friend, and as I sat up, he's pulling the door to the shelter closed and trying to put the lock on it by using the light from his wristwatch. He was obviously very upset and scared. It was that kind of fear that cannot be faked, as if he was trying to prank me. This was a primal fear. I kept asking him what was wrong, and he finally managed to tell me that something had grabbed him by the foot and tried to pull him from his shelter. My first thought was that he had dozed off and had a nightmare, possibly sleep paralysis. He was insistent that he had not, and even stated that whatever had grabbed him had said to him, "We'll be back for you," and let him go as he was shaken awake. I wasn't sure if it was a prank or not, but my gut instinct was that he was petrified and his hands were shaking as he was trying to lock the shelter door. So there must be some truth to it. I told him that we couldn't leave the door closed because of carbon monoxide. I was the higher ranking, so technically I was in charge. He refused to stay by the door if it was going to be open even a little bit, so I agreed to switch with him. I opened the door just a couple of inches and laid down on the cot, still believing he had just a really bad nightmare. As he's on the floor at the other end of the shelter, within a few minutes, some pretty strange things began to happen. There were scratching sounds on the shelter, scratching on the side, on the top, and on the front where the cab of the truck was. A few times the door moved ever so slightly, but never opened. Needless to say that by this time I was convinced that something or someone was definitely outside, and both of us were scared. I reached to the end of the cot I was on and pulled out my metal cross that was used to give tension, or pulled out the metal cross member that was used to give tension. After that, I felt around under the cot and found a wooden handle to the pickaxe. In the Army, we call this pioneering tools. For most of you will know, it is a pickaxe handle without a pickaxe part at the end. This I handed to my friend, and I instructed him that if anyone or anything opens the door to the shelter, we are going to start beating them with our makeshift weapons. And we did not stop beating until whoever it was down on the ground and not moving. The scratching on the exterior of the shelter continued intermittently throughout the night. We made no effort to call out to whom or whatever it was. I think we were both just in fight mode. If anyone had pulled that door to the shelter fully open, I had full intentions of fighting for all I was worth. I am certain my friend felt the same way. Eventually, it began to get light outside, and the sky began to get light, and the scratching stopped. We stayed in the shelter for another 40 to 50 minutes until the sun was fully up. At that point, I said that I was going to push the door all the way open, jump off the back of the truck, and if he saw anyone, just start swinging. So I counted to 3, flung the door open, and jumped off. When you're 21, you can jump off a deuce and a half and it doesn't hurt. Now I would be far more cautious too. At any rate, there was nothing, not a soul. We looked all around the truck, in the camp, nothing. What I noticed immediately was that while we were leaving boot tracks in the still wet ground, there were no other tracks around the truck. I began to look for loose items on the shelter that may account for the scratching sounds. Nothing. I don't know whether to feel relieved or still be on edge. We packed the gear, and about 30 minutes later, the relief NCO arrived in a Humvee. He wasn't even fully out of the truck, and we were putting our stuff to leave. He laughed, remarking that we seemed real ready to go. We never told him a thing. In fact, we never said anything to anyone in our unit about what happened. We probably should have, but I think we were too afraid that we would be laughed at. At any rate, I got behind the wheel of the Humvee, and my friend got back in the passenger side. I drove down the road a ways and came to a stop at the main highway that we would take back to get to Fort Hood. At that moment, there came clear, loud, distinct clap of thunder. I leaned out the window to look up, and then I looked back at my friend who was in the back of the truck, and he said something I will never forget. There ain't a fucking cloud in the sky, man. I believe I probably set the record for the fastest drive back to Fort Hood in a Humvee that morning. I am not one to believe in this kind of stuff. I think a lot of this paranormal stuff is active imaginations or people making it up. But something happened to us that night that I will never forget. It scared the hell out of me and my buddy. And I don't ever want to experience anything like that. Anyway, that's my 100% true experience. Thank you, Jeff. Damn. Ermic, thank you for the blessings, brother. I appreciate that. Who did I miss? Margaret, how are you? Claire Harris, how are you? PG, how are you? 175. David P. Patrice, how are you? Yeah, I believe it too. What's up, Candy Wolf? Gideon, how are you, my friend? Yeah, I believe it as well. Carol, how are you? Sonny the Wandering Gypsy, how are you? You ever seen Mountain Monsters? Nah, I did, but I didn't believe it. It was truly a show for entertainment. I'm almost there. I'm like 780 away or something like that. I can't believe it. Boondot, what's going on? The show did rock. I like the big tubby guy. He was funny. What was his name? There was one guy named Jeff. And the old man that had that thing in his nose. I good parents, Happy G. Good parents. I don't know. I'm just kidding. Thank you. Makes you wonder. It is getting longer. I'm so happy. Pops is doing good. My dad is doing good. I used to like when they made the cages. They would build them cages. They'd be like, and this is going to fall on the creature that's in the Black Forest. And then we'll have proof. Me and Isabel used to watch that show all the time. Yes, she is. Thank you, Kathy Hayes, for asking. I'm a Dapper Dan man. All right. Is it time for a lot lizard story? What do you think of the so-called hostile craft headed our way? Ooh. That's a good question. And we'll take a minute on that real quick. Yes. There's NASA and a couple of different astrological experts have talked a little bit about it. It appears the way the craft or whatever is moving, it doesn't move like a natural object. It's literally going like planet right by planet, another planet right by the planet. Like it's it's like almost skimming above their atmosphere. And then there was just recently, I was reading in some other scientific magazine that they found another planet that instead of orbiting our system like this, it's orbiting like this. And I immediately thought Nibiru. And I was like, oh my God. There wasn't too much on that article, but I think maybe it might be an alien craft. If it is, I don't think it's going to be hostile. I think it's going to be more or less like a covert. Obviously, they're not covert now that we know about them, but it looks cool though. You pick your butt, Sully. How are you, buddy? Well, Nibiru orbits this way. It orbits that way it doesn't orbit backwards. It orbits opposite the way our system, everything else does. And maybe backwards too. Brittany Brown, how are you? But I'm not really sure. I mean, actually, nobody's sure because nobody's proven one that it exists. So, I mean, I think here's the thing that I thought about this, and I used to think about it a long time ago when I was younger. If Nibiru truly existed, we'd have proof of it. You know, they say it takes 3,000 years to rotate or to do its gravitational rotation around the sun or whatever. So 3,000 years, but all right. So during this short period of time of human existence and in our intelligence, you know, our creative intelligence time, we would somehow have evidence of it. Yet we don't. We're still making fucking guesses about it. So maybe it doesn't exist. All right. No, he's a comedian, Maggie Mayhem. He was a comedian guy. All right, here we go. Let me check. Here we go. All right. This is a good one. Here, lot lizard time, my friends. Lot lizard time. I hope you guys are ready. The fluorescent hum of the midnight Oasis truck stop usually vibrated with a rhythm of diesel engines and the clatter of cutlery. A symphony Lizzo conducted with the Queen's casual authority. She wasn't merely the most prominent fixture at the Oasis. She was the undisputed monarch. They called her Lizzo, the Lot Lizard Queen. And woe betide anyone who didn't show the proper respect. She commanded the asphalt kingdom with a smile that could melt concrete and a glare that could freeze it back to solid. Her domain was her boys, the truckers, and she ruled with a heart as big as her personality, wrapped in enough confidence to power a small city. But lately, the rhythm of the Oasis was off. Truckers, usually fueled by caffeine and road dust, were turning pale, their eyes glazed over. Big Ronnie, a man who could sleep through a tornado, woke up screaming about a tiny striped sweater. Whispers of the Nightmare Man snaked through the diner. Lizzo, nursing a fresh cup of coffee, watched her domain falter. This wasn't just bad chow or a busted tire. This was something unnatural. That night, it hit the Oasis like a freight train. Every sleeper cab, every cot in the bunkhouse, every dozing head in the diner booth was plunged into the same shared nightmare. Freddy Krueger, the Nightmare King, was having a field day. He sauntered through the subconscious landscape of the truckers, his clawed gloves scraping the chilling symphony. And with each taunt, each flick of his wrist, The grizzled, road-worn men began to shriek. One by one, their dreams transformed them into terrified children, whimpering for their mamas, lost in the endless dark corridors of Freddy's twisted funhouse. He cackled, a sound like dry leaves skittering across pavement. As he herded his miniature prey, savoring the fear, "Tick-tock, little piggies," he rasped. "Freddy's coming for you." Lizzo felt it too. Her sticky tendrils of fear, or the sticky tendrils of fear trying to pull her under. But Lizzo didn't scare her easily. She faced down worse than a blunt-faced boogeyman with a manicure problem. She closed her eyes, not in surrender, but in focus. She saw her boys, tiny and helpless, and rage hotter than any exhaust pipe flared within her. Oh, no, you don't, you greasy-faced freak," she muttered, raising from her cot in the real world. A faint electric hum began to fill the air, a familiar riff from the ether. Bang, bang! The opening drums of Dawkins' Dream Warriors thundered through her mind, building to the iconic guitar hook. Lizzo felt a surge of energy, a shift in her very being. This wasn't just a dream, this was her dream, and she was taking ownership. She closed her eyes tighter, pushing past the terror, focusing on the righteous fury. The tacky truck stop wallpaper of her dreamscape shimmered, morphing, her nightgown dissolving into a shimmering, powerful ensemble, part leather warrior, part disco queen, and all Lizzo. Her aura glowed with an otherworldly light and a microphone. Not just any mic, but one imbued with a soul-shaking power of stadium concert materialized in her hand. "I am the Dream Warrior," she thought. The lyrics echoed through her transformation. She crashed into Freddy's playground, a vision of unapologetic power. Freddy, mind chased, skidded to halt. His eyes, usually gleaming with malicious amusement, narrowed in surprise. "Well, well," he sneered. "Look what the dream cat drug in. Another little lamb for the slaughter." He gestured towards the terrified, shocking truckers who huddled together like lost puppies. Lizzo's laugh boomed, rattling the very foundations of that nightmare. "Lamb, honey, I'm the whole damn flock, and I'm here to kick your ass back to whatever dumpster you crawled out of." She pointed her shimmering microphone at him like a weapon. "You think you can come into my truck stop and mess with my boys, turning them into toddlers? That's just rude, Freddy. And nobody's rude to the lot lizard queen." Dawkins' guitar solo ripped through the dream, fueling her. She didn't have a clawed glove, but she had sharp wit, stage presence that could level mountains. Freddy lunged, claws extended. Lizzo sidestepped with that surprising agility, planting a high-heeled boot right up his bony ass. "You're slow, Grandpa. Too many sleepless nights, maybe." He stumbled, enraged, lunging again. Lizzo paired his attacks, not with martial arts, but with sheer, unadulterated sass and the force of her personality. She belted out the chorus to Dream Warriors, infused with the lyrics with her power. With each note, a shimmering wave of energy pulsed from her mic, pushing Freddy back. He tried to shrink her, to turn her into a helpless child. But the power of Dawkins and pure, unadulterated Lizzo resistance was far too strong. She was built different. "You like playing with fear?" Lizzo taunted, spinning her microphone. "Let's see how you like a little self-love." She unleashed a crescendo of pure positive energy, a blast of light and confidence, and Freddy shrieked like a little girl, the light burning his already burnt skin. His dream world reality began to crack under pressure of her spirit. "Your nightmare ends here, Kruger. This ain't Elm Street. This is Lizzo's oasis. And we only dream big here." With a final earth-shattering power note that seemed to reverberate through every dimension, Lizzo slammed her microphone down, The feedback, a deafening roar, the force of it, combined with the unyielding Dream Warrior anthem, was far too much for Freddy. His form flickered, tears of pure nightmare essence streaming from his eyes. "No, my realm, my children," he shrieked, shrinking not into a child, but into a tiny, shriveled, pathetic version of himself. He tried to scuttle away, but the fiery portal, shaped like a gaping maw, opened beneath him. It wasn't just a portal, it was a one-way trip to the deepest pits of whatever hellscape could contain a monster like him. "Next time you better bring a better playlist," Lizzo yelled, giving him a final dismissive wave as Freddy tumbled into the abyss, the portal sealing behind him in a wet thud. The dreamscape stabilized, the terrified child truckers shimmered, growing back to their burly, bearded selves, their eyes blinking in confusion. Lizzo, still radiating power, gave a satisfied nod. She might have just sent the legendary nightmare demon to perdition, but a queen's work was never done. Back at the midnight oasis, the morning sun was just beginning to peek over the horizon. Truckers stirred, shaking off the lingering haze of a truly wild night. "Man," Big Ronnie grumbled, rubbing his head, "I had the weirdest dream. I was 6 again, and some dude in a sweater was chasing me." Lizzo, already on her third cup of coffee, winked. "You boys just had a bad batch of chili, that's all. Now get up. There's coffee to drink and roads to conquer." She took a sip, the ghost of Dawkins' Dream Warrior still faint and powering hum in the back of her mind. The lot lizard queen of the midnight oasis had saved her kingdom, and she hadn't even broken a sweat. Well, maybe a little, but a queen never tells all her secrets. Someone else aware of time. Thank you very much. MJ, how are you? She's definitely a slaying queen, tactful rogue. What's up, IE Native? How are you? Playing hooky. Haha, good for you. Good for you. We all have to play it sometimes, right? That's for you, my friend. Maybe I will do a RuPaul. Maybe RuPaul will stumble upon Lizzo's land. Oh shit. Thank you. Aramic, thank you. Larry Lindman, thank you so much. I'm sorry I missed you while I was narrating that. Holy shit, 50. Larry, thank you so much, man. Wow. 50 memberships. Thank you so much, Larry. Aramic, thank you for pointing that out. I have a hard time. I don't want to stop the story in the middle of it. So thank you, Larry. I appreciate you. Did you ask a question during that or no? Excuse me. Didn't mean to burp right in everyone's face. All right. No question. But Larry Lindman, thank you so much. You are truly a fucking awesome man. Native English USA, welcome to the live. I hope you have a wonderful night with us. Difference between Tiger Woods and Santa. Santa's smart enough to stop at 3 hoes. Oh shit. Swamped lately. Works, but well, you're a bigwig now, aren't you? Married. I remember Larry when Larry was not married and just like he was what the hell? You were like I think you were a nurse, but something better than what, or not, you're better than what you are now, but you've been with me forever. Fucking love Larry. Thank you, Larry. I love everybody. And not in that way. Well, maybe because $20 is $20, baby. David, how are you? Speaking of which, I just got to ask, C Mustard, if you're still here, how was that in a scale of 1 to 10? I mean, you write some fucking bangers, brother. Oh, did this one cut off? Good stuff. Not as good as yours, but always been a PA, just busy training. So that's way better now. Thank you, SDL. Thank you. Haha, thanks, brother. So that's what I want to do. That's what me for my 100,000 celebration. I want to sit with you and just bang out, like, I'll do a paragraph, you do a paragraph, you send me one, and then we'll do it that way. Jared, how are you? 9.5. Thank you, Aramic. Thank you. I had to like put the Dawkins song in. Like, all I pictured when I was writing that was fucking Lizzo and that whole song, Dream Warriors, behind it. All right, I think this got cut off. I didn't get, and I'm pretty pissed that it got cut off, actually. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to share this one. Fuck. I wanted to too, because that was a good one. All right, here we go. I encountered a black triangle UFO just over 20 years ago. Myself and 3 of my friends were all sitting in the backyard on the picnic table, the top of it, so we were all facing the same way, looking up at the clear night sky one evening in a small town we lived in. We had just left the bar and were chatting about our night and smoking a jibby. Well, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we saw something really big and black, triangular shape, with no lights whatsoever, appear in the night sky. It was for a split second that we all saw it move from one end of the sky to the other, and it covered the stars as it did so. It was massive, easily the size of a football field, no joke. All of us just looked at each other and exclaimed at the same time, "Holy shit, did you see that?" It was insane, and I'll never forget it. Then, a few weeks after the incident, I had a very vivid dream that I was on the very cold operating table with what I could only sense as beings that were not human, and they were tickling me each time they touched me, almost like a faint electrical current. There were more than one touching me in a different place at the time. It was weird because I could feel their physical touch while I was asleep, like I was actually there. I wasn't able to see anything while this was going on. I'm pretty sure I had something over my face so I couldn't see them or anything around me. However, I did not feel threatened or scared by them. The dream ended abruptly. I woke up in my bed. It seemed so real to me to this day. I fully believe I was abducted while asleep so that they could study me. I have not seen a black triangle in the sky since or had any more abduction dreams, thankfully, but it was definitely one of the strangest occurrences for me to date. I wonder if they tickled his booter. I bet you they tickled his booter. They're just like, beep, 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 beep. And he's like, hee, you know that shit happened. He probably had his legs right up the air. He's like this. He's like, tickle that shit, baby. He got chipped. He got chipped for sure. Little spit on it. What the fuck? Oh my god. Jarrett, how are you? Closeted psychic, how are you? How have you been, dear? It's been a while since I've seen you. I have a I have a Black Eyed Kids experience. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. It's already been an hour? Damn, it's been like going good. I'm in a good mood tonight. It's been 3 months in the Netherlands. Oh man, I'm envious of you. Envious. Storm Zombie, how are you? I missed saying hi to you. I apologize. I don't know. I think they're more demonic, native English USA. Sumner, what's going on, my friend? This experience happened to me, and it's one of the creepier experiences I've had. And trust me, I've had a few. I thought I would share this experience to see. Back in the summer of 2017, my girlfriend and I were driving up from Evanston, Illinois, to spend the weekend at her parents' lakefront cottage in Petoskey, Michigan, a popular destination for summer retreats. Never heard of it, so it can't be too popular. Just kidding. This drive for us was around a 6-hour trip and involved taking the highway north through the western half of Michigan. A lot of this path goes through some fairly remote areas. Eventually, we found we had been driving on the same single-lane highway road through some dense woods for what seemed like the last 45 minutes. I recall our navigation showing we were somewhere in the Huron-Manistee National Forest. Also, when I say dense, I mean that the tree canopy formed almost a tunnel around the fairly narrow road, which made it seem significantly darker than it actually was. Luckily, the summer days in Michigan are long. We still had a couple hours of daylight left. While driving, I noticed some older, dilapidated constructions in the woods to the right. It looked like remains of old sheds or storage buildings. This is a good time to mention that I'm a bit of a treasure hunter. I collect historical relics and old coins. And these ruins seemed like a good place to dig up some artifacts that may have been buried for years. Also, this stretch of road was deserted, so it was unlikely others had explored it in the first place. Luckily, I had my metal detector with me in the car, as I planned to use it on the beach. I also had one of those child shovels made of neon plastic with a wooden handle for digging in the sand. And although it was not ideal for the soil, it would do. I told my girlfriend I wanted to stop for a bit and pulled over to the shoulder. She said okay, but she would stay back and continue napping. The nearest ruins were small, but not too far from the road itself. I figured the current highway must have originally been a backwood road that the inhabitants could have used back in the day. However, I noticed a larger structure deeper in the forest and decided to check it out, as larger buildings could have been people's homes and such have a higher chance of yielding a cool find. I made my way over, and I could see it was made of brick. The window holes were still clearly defined, with dirty, broken glass around the edges. I looked through one of them and could see the building, though half collapsed, had a floor that looked like somewhat intact. Back toward the road, my car was just barely within my range of vision. Since it was dark around the ruins, I recall leaving my shovel outside as I didn't need it for the hardwood floor. I used my free hand to hold my phone as a flashlight and help spot anything shiny. I snooped around the corner and started sweeping with the metal detector within the building walls. The roof was collapsing. For half an hour or so, I started to hear movement around me, like crunching twigs and brush rustling. I dismissed it as small animals at first, but I kept hearing it almost as if it was following my movements around the building from bush to bush. At this point, the hairs on the back of my neck were standing up. I got the feeling like I was being watched, like something was stalking me. I decided to turn back. I started hollering and making loud noises in hopes of scaring whatever it was off. Cautiously made my way over to where I had left my shovel, and it was gone. I am certain I could not have misplaced it because it was neon orange, and I had left it in the middle of a pretty open area, so there is no way I would have not seen it. At this point, I was spooked enough to say fuck it and booked it back to the car. Hopping back in the driver's seat, I could see my girlfriend was awake and her eyes were wide. She told me just a few minutes ago, while I was gone, she saw a child emerge from the forest and just look at her from several feet down the edge of the road. She described it as a boy, maybe 7 or 8, with a dirty face and ragged clothes. She told me she was worried that the boy was lost or left behind, but the way he looked made her feel uneasy. Said he didn't look afraid or curious, but just looked at her with a gaze that seemed off for a child. She told me she still wanted to notify the police, but was not comfortable leaving the car or calling out to the kid, who by now had disappeared. I hadn't yet told her about my experience, but at this point my heart is beating, and I felt very uneasy about the whole thing. As I looked up the non-emergency number for the nearest sheriff's office on my phone, my girlfriend screamed my name. I looked up, and there was a boy similar to the one she described, just looking directly at us from the edge of the woods, a few feet from the passenger door. I was alarmed to see another similar boy right outside the back window, peering into the back seat. At this point, I didn't care anymore. I just turned the car on and accelerated the fuck out of there. After a few seconds of driving, I looked in the rearview mirror and the boys had disappeared into the forest as fast as they had come out. I sped over the limit for God knows how long until we were clear out of those woods. We ended up still calling the sheriff's office, who mentioned there have been similar sightings of children along that road by other people. Though I never got a good look, I agree with my girlfriend that something was off about those kids, and their behavior did not match that of a lost child. Maybe they lived on a nearby secluded property with their parents and were just playing in the woods or trying to steal our stuff. I had also heard of feral children, which could explain their dirty faces and raggedy clothes. Later at the college, I Googled similar paranormal sightings of the area. Apparently, melonheads, a band of feral children with enlarged heads, had been spotted in the forests of Michigan, just a couple of hours from where we had been. They could have been also black-eyed children. Upon asking my girlfriend this, she said she was sure the boy that was staring at her did or did not have black eyes. She couldn't really tell it that far away. However, his mannerisms, as she described them, seemed very similar to the experiences I've heard about BEK. So it is possible. Anyway, that is my experience. Thanks for letting me share. That's creepy. Dude, imagine that's just messed up. Like you're sitting in there and you're like, you look over, your girlfriend sees this other little dirty kid. You look in the rear view, there's another dirty kid. Like, too bad you didn't have a bar of soap and just flick it at him. Be like, get clean, boy. Sub-03, welcome to the live. Yes, there's more people here now. So for those of you who didn't hear the very beginning, Mr. Shackleneck had a stroke on Monday. He is with us still, but he is on a recovering mission. He just wanted me to let everyone know why he wasn't going to be here. And that he misses you guys and is praying and hoping that he will be here soon. So if we could keep him in our prayers, he is truly a fixture of this channel, and just a freaking dynamite dude. So Jody Bateman, how are you, my friend? Very good. I hope you're doing well. Good seeing you. Yeah, he's a cool guy. He drove. This is so weird. So he drove from Illinois to come and meet me. Because we have a Bigfoot festival in Whitehall, New York, which is like 20 minutes north of my house. And he wanted to go to it because I had talked about it, but he wanted to meet me. So I tell him, he emails me, and I'm a little like weirded out because, like I'm just me, like I'm nobody, like just some dude fucking playing a dude on the computer that plays a dude. And so I'm like, stay at this hotel that's down the road from my house. It's a really nice hotel. There's a restaurant there, and it's clean. And I'll go with you to the Bigfoot Fest. He shows up with the back of his Suburban full of gifts, like gifts beyond gifts, and I'm just like, holy shit. Wanted to take me to dinner every night that he was here. I didn't go every night. I went once. We had coffee together. I didn't want him spending his money on me. His wife and his friend drove their car, and he drove up with me to the Bigfoot Fest. But just a super fucking nice guy, man. I fucking love him. I really do. He's just so nice. He really is. He gave me, Eddie Munster. So he's friends with the guy that plays Eddie Munster in real life. And he gave me the werewolf doll that Eddie Munster carried around with like a teddy bear. It's downstairs. So like I have the real Eddie Munster doll that he carried in the show. AI Sparks, how are you? Jody Bateman, have a good night, my friend. Annie remembers it. I let you guys check it out. Yeah. Butch Patrick, yes. Just such a decent dude. Thanks, Jan. What's up, Widmore? How are you, brother? Sorry, I didn't mean to say hi to you. Ah, here it is. Men in Black. Men in Black. Jared, welcome to the membership. Thank you. I am lucky. I am one lucky fella. I feel lucky every day. I'm blessed to have this channel. Fucking Aramec. Jesus Christ. Pops, how are you? I don't know if you heard me say hi to you before, but I did say hi. Good to see you. I'm glad that you made it home safely. Snowman Dave, how are you? I'm going to say hi to the people that don't speak. Kimberly, how are you? April, how are you? Justin Boyd, Smet Shoes, Nathan Evans, Dark Angel, Deb, how are you? Matt Berenger, how are you? It's just they pop out. They're like, fuck, we're out of the shadows, guys. Get back in the shadows. All right. Prior to my Men in Black incident, I had gone camping to the Joshua Tree National Park with a few of my buddies. On our last night there, we were looking at the stars while in front of the campfire. That's when I witnessed a couple of glowing blue, what looked like UFOs in the night sky going at an amazing speed. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and my friends were equally amazed and mystified. I tried to take a photo with my flip phone, but they were moving far too fast to get a clear image of them. On our way back home, we talked more about what we had seen, and we were really excited about it. Not long after, I noticed a black car following me from the distance. I switched lanes to make sure the car was in fact following me, and sure enough, wherever I went, the car followed. Then, when I glanced in my rearview mirror again, the car suddenly disappeared without a trace, which was very unsettling. Now to the encounter. The next day, after running a few errands, I started driving home, and when I arrived at my house, I saw a black Cadillac parked in my driveway. I tried to convince myself that it was not the same black car following me a day ago, but my gut told me otherwise. When I got out of my car, two men in matching black suits, light gray dress shirts, black ties, and black fedoras approached me and asked if they could ask me a few questions about what I had witnessed the night prior. I asked them who they were and to see some credentials. They claimed that they worked for a division of the United States Air Force. Their appearance looked what I can only describe as plastic and expressionless, and they both had pale olive skin tone. They spoke in a raspy, monotone voice, and their speech was very precise, sounding almost synthetic. They also had very cold, intense gaze. Here are some of the questions they asked. Can you describe what you saw that night? What do you think you saw? Did you take any photos of what you witnessed? Were there others who might have had recording devices or cameras? Do you know if anyone recorded the incident? Have you spoken about this incident with anyone else who was not present with you that night? Did you find any unusual debris at the location you were at that night? Would you be withholding any important information from us? Of course, I didn't answer most of their questions honestly, and I did withhold a lot of information as to what I saw and who I was with. They ended their questioning by strongly advising me to refrain from talking about what I had seen with anyone and to forget about the incident. They also strongly implied that they would be keeping an eye on me in case I decided to ignore their demands. After the encounter, I had this constant ominous feeling for a while and always looked over my shoulder wherever I had gone. I don't know who these men were or how they had knowledge of what I saw that night, but I believe they were the men in black. Since that encounter, I have been really hesitant and careful about who I share my experience with. Anyway, thanks. Oh, hang on. Oh. There we go. I got him unstuck that time. So, what would you guys do if in fact you saw a UFO and a black car appeared in your driveway? Would you answer them honestly? Would you feel compelled to talk to them? Would you talk to them? Would you just shut the door in their face? I would try to record them. I would, yeah. I don't know if they're human or not. The way they people always describe them as being almost plasticky. So they may be like, you know what they remind me of is, remember Data from Star Trek? Their skin tone resembles him from the next generation, Star Trek: The Next Generation. Data. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. What's up, Mr. Anderson? How are you? I would grab, if their eyebrow fell off, I would grab it and put it right between mine so I'd have a unibrow just to see what they would do. I'd be like, no, not Spock. Data. Yeah, definitely don't call the DNR. In Grenada? Wow, no shit. Oh my God, dude. Oh my God. Aramaic. Aramec. Uh, no, it was funny. It was funny. Send me an email so I can check out your book. I'll buy your book. I'll actually link it on the channel. If you send me an email with the link to it, just for you. By chance, have you searched the Oscar? No, I have not. And I apologize for not doing that. My brain has just been so crazy lately. But thank you for reminding me. Thank you. Frank. Okay. All right. Thank you, my friend. Crypt Keeper, how are you? I've never heard of it either. No. I'm going to have to look it up, though. I'm definitely going to have to look it up. Do you like cheese? It's kind of a weird question. I don't know. I like cheese on sandwiches. No, I'm not a big fan of cheese. I mean, I'll eat cheese on a sandwich. I don't eat like Italian food. So my daughter, I made Isabel a whole 2 trays of manicotti the other day, and she eats them. So Marcy, do you need my email? I'll put my email out there for you if you need it, Marcy. Hang on one second. It's right under John Sumner, between PG and John Sumner. Okay, Tactful. If you need it, it's right under John Sumner and PG. You know what's crazy? Speaking of earthquakes. So two weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, Japan had ceased like travel. There was like a travel ban because of a anime that suggested a horrific incident that was going to occur. And with that Russian earthquake that hit, what was it, like an 8.8, I think, it caused like a mini tsunami there. I found that pretty interesting. I was like, huh. I don't know. We didn't have an earthquake here. Let's see. Earthquake in New York City today. Magnitude 3.0 in New Jersey at 10:18. 10:18. And there was one in California at 2:34 in Ferndale. Huh. That's why I like living where I live. We have like earthquakes, but you don't feel them. Like it's just like it feels like a big tractor trailer driving by or something. You just like, huh. No one cares about Ferndale. Fucking Andy. There's a warning on the coast of Canada. I just heard you talk. Yeah, there was that 8.8 earthquake in Russia the other day, or the other week, or I think it was like a couple days ago. That, oh my God, fucking Aramik. And it caused like mini tsunamis. But in Japan, there was like this, like, kind of like, people were buying into the anime and being like, we got to believe the anime, which was kind of weird. 59th, how are you? I forgot to say hi to you. I feel like I did. I hope you're doing well. If I said missed you, I apologize. All right, good. Yeah, it was. I heard that it was an 8.9 or an 8.8. Either way, it's fucking huge. Can you imagine an 8.8 earthquake? Like, there's limited people there, but I wonder how bad like the coast of Alaska got hit or whatever. It's kind of funny that we don't hear about that shit too much. Hawaii, where I live, was on a tsunami warning from 4 till 10 the following day. Yeah, so was in Japan. In Hawaii. Yes. Guam, Hawaii. Matt Farms, how are you? Shane Rose, how are you? I'm glad that you're here with us. Camo Dad! Alabama had a wild dog attack on a kid last week. Wild dog. Is that what they put it as, too? I hate when the fucking news put it in as wild dog. Anime author is a prophet, considering you mentioned. Yeah. Vertebraker is just full of information. I'll look into that, though, Camo Dad. Thank you for popping that up, though. I didn't hear about that. Pincho, how are you, my friend? Wild dog is code for... All right, hopefully it did. Was it Matt Wright that bought the Annabelle doll? And the fucking Warrens Museum? He had been there. With Sam and Colby. He was actually at the Conjuring house the day before me and Isabel went. I remember him like before he was even famous. I remember him when he was like, he didn't even have a YouTube. No, he had like 10,000 subscribers on a channel when I knew who he was. He wasn't even doing like, he was doing stand-up, obviously, but he wasn't doing it on his channel at that point. He was doing more paranormal with a guy named Elton and Corey, who I met, both of them, too. They were pretty cool. No, Elton was a dick. Corey was cool. What was I going to look at? Oh, yeah. Alabama wild dog attack child. Boy dies. Grandma's intervention. All right, let's see. Let's see this. If this is Noah Jerry Muniz and his grandmother were attacked at home on Country Road 147 near Calera. He was taken to the hospital where he later passed. The grandmother was already hospitalized. Were mauled by 9 dogs. So it was a dog attack because they did have the dogs. There's a dog attack. Not every dog attack or animal attack is a... I did get your email, tactful. But thank you for bringing it up. It's sad. Nine dogs is just... Jesus Christ. That's terrible. Oh, gosh. All right. What time is it? It's been an hour since we did a lot lizard story. Let's get the mood good again. All right. All right, here we go. I'm trying to find the good one. I got 2 good ones. I got all good ones. All right, here we go. All right, this is the second lot lizard experience of the night. The fluorescent hum of the big rig stop and go was usually the most exciting sound on Tuesday night in rural Kansas. That and the rhythmic sizzle of Earl's griddle-cooked burgers. Earl, a man built like a reinforced concrete block, was Lizzo's anchor. And Lizzo, she was the glittering rhinestone-studded queen of this particular patch of asphalt, ruler of the lot lizards, her domain stretching from diesel pumps to the Greasy Spoon Diner. Lizzo, with her audacious beehive and a laugh that could curdle milk with a warm and lonely heart, found pure, unadulterated comfort in Earl's gruff tenderness. He was her steady Eddie, her rock in the world of truckers and broken dreams. Their love wasn't conventional, but it was as real as a grit under a truck driver's fingernail. The night started out like any other, Earl flipping burgers, Lizzo holding court, regaling a small crowd of truckers with her tales of her latest business ventures, and expertly deflecting unwanted advance with winks and a well-armed jab. Then the sky decided to throw a curveball. A high-pitched whirling whine descended from the inky blackness, growing louder until a gleaming chrome disc no bigger than a tractor parade float settled gently beside a parked 18-wheeler. It did not crash. It landed with a soft hiss of hydraulics. Silence descended upon the truck stop, broken only by the distant croak of a bullfrog. The hatch unsealed with a theatric puff of mist, and out came not the towering, bug-eyed aliens of sci-fi flicks, but something far more specific. They were no taller than a 10-year-old, with strangely oversized heads and skin that shimmered like oil slicks in moonlight. And their outfits, black leather, cinched and buckled in all the most interpretive ways. Tiny whips dangled from their tiny belts. "Well, I'll be damned," drawled Big Red, spit in a stream of tobacco juice. "Space folk finally got here, and they look like they're heading to a very niche rave." The midgets, about 5 of them, scanned the lot with their glowing red eyes. They moved with an unsettling, jerking precision. Their high-pitched chittering filled the air like thousands of agitated hamsters on helium. Their gaze locked onto Bubba, a mountainous trucker known more for his gut than his quick wit. Bubba was attempting to discreetly pick his nose near a fuel island. One midget, apparently the leader, pointed a tiny laser-tipped finger. Before anyone could react, the group sprinted toward Bubba with surprising agility, their little leather outfits creaking. Bubba let out a sound somewhere between a startled bellow and a terrified squeal as a tiny invader swarmed him. There was a flurry of tiny gloved hands, high-pitched giggles that sent shivers down spines, and the distinct sound of buckles were clinking. Bubba's protest devolved into desperate whimpers. It wasn't exactly horror, more like a supremely uncomfortable, deeply embarrassing spectacle. The other truckers just stood there, mouths agape, too bewildered to intervene. However, Lizzo was aghast. They're molesting Bubba," she shrieked, her usual composure shattered. Earl's eyes widened, dropping his spatula. "What in tarnation?" Having apparently finished their interrogation of Bubba, who was now slumped against a fuel pump, looking utterly violated, the midgets turned their glowing eyes towards Earl. Perhaps they were drawn to his sheer mass, or maybe they just liked the cut of his denim. Oh, no, you don't," Lizzo screamed, but it was too late. The midgets coordinated, one darting forward, another flanking, their movement strangely elegant despite their size. Earl, surprisingly nimble for a man of his size, tried to fend him off. His bellowing roars echoed across the lot. He swatted at them like flies, but they were too fast and too numerous and too perverted. One of them managed to latch onto his leg, another onto his arm, and a third, the apparent leader, made a terrifying lunge for, well, let's just say Earl definitely wasn't enjoying himself. Lizzo, help me, they're trying to. Earl's plea was cut short by a choked gargle. Lizzo did not hesitate. This was her man, her Earl. No intergalactic dominatrix, no matter how miniature, was going to lay a creepy glove on him. With a battle cry that made hubcaps rattle, she snatched a mop bucket full of murky water from beside the diner floor. You want to get freaky? She roared, her voice laced with a righteous fury. I'll show you freaky, you little perverts. She swung the bucket with force of a woman protecting her soulmate. The grimy water sloshed out and drenched the leader. The midget shrieked a high-pitched sound of pure outrage. Its leather outfit suddenly looked less intimidating when dripping wet. The others recoiled, their strange tech apparently not waterproof. Lizzo was not done. She grabbed the mop itself, a sturdy wooden handle with a frayed head, and wielded it like a jousting lance. This is my truck stop. That's my man. And these hands, she declared, raising her rhinestone-studded fingers, ain't never been used for anything less than consensual good times. She jabbed and swatted, her every move infused with the fury of a woman scorned with protective instinct of loneliness or a lioness. The midgets, clearly not used to such aggressive terrestrial hostility, scampered, their tiny whips flailing uselessly. One tripped over its own feet and landed face first in a puddle of Earl's spilled coffee. With a final triumphant swing, Lizzo sent the drenched leader skidding across the asphalt. The tiny little aliens, demoralized and dripping, scurried back to their ship. The hatch hissed shut, and with another high-pitched whine, the chrome disc ascended, disappearing into the night as quickly as it arrived. Silence returned, heavier this time, Bubba still whimpering. But Earl, though disheveled and looking like he had just escaped a very strange wrestling match, was safe. He pulled Lizzo into a bone-crushing hug. My queen, he rumbled, his voice thick with emotion. My beautiful, terrifying queen. Lizzo patted his broad back, a proud smirk on her face. Nobody messes with my Earl, she declared, her gaze sweeping over the still stunned truckers. Especially not a bunch of tiny space freaks in leather. Now, who's hungry? I think Earl owes us a round of free burgers after that. And as the truckers slowly came back to life, laughing nervously and sharing bewildered glances, Lizzo knew one thing for sure. Truck stop life was never boring. And her love with Earl was truly out of this world. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, brother. Appreciate that. I literally picture her. I just picture freaking Lizzo. I need Earl. I couldn't have Earl be a trucker tonight. He had to be in the kitchen. So, because Bubba needed to get molested. Oh, man. Midgets with red eyes. Oh. Thank you, my friends. I'm glad you guys liked it. Now, once again, if you guys want to laugh, go and give freaking Sea Mustard a listen. Stacy Lockett, how are you, dear? Sea Mustard's voices are funny as shit. Like, his voices are just phenomenal. My dad, I played my dad like 4 of his videos. Actually, I played him half of the Nighthawk episodes, and my dad laughed his ass off. And Nighthawk just happens to look like Jack Black, which is even better. That's so good. I'm glad. You are already, Mustard. You are already, my brother. What's up, Donovan? How are you, my friend? I did a video once with I did this. Listen to this. This is freaking crazy. This is on a all right. This was on. I had another channel at one time that I did, like, I was trying to become a voice actor. And this is called The Zombie Apocalypse Sucks. And I did this whole 23 minute video in this accent.
If that ain't already bad enough, them zombies had to be runners. Not shamblers, but runners. And them some bitches run fast, too. Now, I was like everybody else. I played the games and watched all the movies. I never missed an episode of that TV show. I fantasized about the day them zombies would show up and bite the shit out of everybody. Especially all them some bitches at the credit card companies. I was so sick of them bill collectors harassing me like a bunch of old buzzards. Explain this to me. Why would you keep calling me when, 1, I know I ain't got your money. 2, you know I ain't got your money. 3, we both know you ain't never gonna get your money. What's so difficult to understand about that? They just don't get it through their thick heads and nothing.
23 minutes of that. All right. I've always been a night owl. My current profession actually entails being up all night, so the dark does not bug me. I have pretty excellent night vision. I don't panic. I'm a medical professional and a bit of an outdoorsman. I'm a big dude, 6'2", 260, and a biology nerd. Here's my first encounter. I had October 22nd of 2005 on a stretch of back road in the Mojave Desert in the vicinity of the Joshua Tree in Yucca Valley, California. It was the 3rd or so day of quail season, and I was all tagged up and ready to go hunting. I had my little Jack Russell Terrier, Gus, that a friend let me borrow for the day since I can't own dogs or cats, allergic as all hell. Drove out and parked my Jeep on a turnout at the dirt road intersection. There are a zillion dirt roads out here, and some, our bigger ones, actually have stop signs at the intersection. It was a good day and getting a little late, but I hadn't hit my bag limit yet. I decided I would stay out a bit past sundown to try and bag at least a few birds on my permit. I was dressed pretty warmly, and Gus didn't seem to mind, so away we went. By the time I hit my bag limit, the sun had been over the horizon for about an hour. Getting back to the road was easy enough, and following it back to the Jeep was as well. Clint, thank you so much, my friend. Was well. Around the time full twilight set in, I came to the intersection with the stop signs at both directions, and was getting my bearings when Gus froze mid-trot and immediately started growling at his hackles up. He was a pretty chill dog, so watching him go from happy little derp to DEFCON 1 was fast and alarming. I scanned the area to see what might he be upset by, because my first guess was a wild pig or a javelina, and all I had was a shotgun loaded with bird round. As I said, these are dirt roads. Each road is roughly the same width as the average two-lane city street. On the corner opposite the one we were on, I spotted a creature with the same general gait as a rooster, but without bobbling its head. What clued me in initially that it wasn't a rooster was the simple fact that its head, 2 foot, must have been 3 feet tall. Based on body mass, I'd say it weighed somewhere between 50 to 100 pounds. I tied Gus's leash to my belt so he wouldn't bolt after it. It loitered at the corner for a minute, then, without making so much as a flutter, it made roughly a 9 foot standing leap from ground to perch atop of the stop sign. Definitely not a chicken or some sort of bird. At this point, I decided it was prudent to be armed, so I popped in 2 fresh shells into the shotgun and held it at the ready. When I looked back up, I saw its eyes. The two things that immediately sprang to mind is where the biology geek comes in. 1, they were forward facing, meaning this animal was likely predator. And 2, they were proportionately enormous, meaning it was likely nocturnal. I realized that a 3-foot predatory nocturnal creature that could make a 9-foot standing jump was now regarding me from a high perch, albeit roughly 40 feet away, and that I was in a bad position. I leveled the shotgun and loaded both barrels. After the echoes died down, it was still perched atop of that stop sign, but making an odd chirp sound. That sounded a lot like sneezing. I was reloading when it jumped down from the stop sign and ran away from us through the brush on an adjacent corner. I finished reloading, waiting until Gus calmed down, and jogged back to the Jeep. On our way back, though, I hit the trail lights at the intersection this happened at and saw that the stop sign was definitely been peppered with my shot, and that the majority of it had been centered on that creature. This creature had taken a 9-foot standing leap soundlessly, perched perfectly on a 2-foot square area, taken 2 12-gauge loads of birdshot center mass, made some weird noise at me. On the way out of town, I told the experience to the Spanish-speaking clerk at the local gas station, and he laughed and said, "You may have seen the El Chupacabra." Because $20 is $20. There's for everyone that wanted me to blow the Hebrew horn, DB Mac. Clint, thank you so much again, my friend. Hang on, I gotta adjust the nuts. Oh, god damn. That's what happens when you get old. There was 2 songs. 2 songs, monkey. What's up, Darren K? Well, they're fucking hanging low now. Another one bites the dust. I thought about getting some sort of separating banana hammock. I got sent to work with fresh tacos and salsa. Dang, Larry Linman. I wish I had some salsa and tacos. What's up, King? Spaceballs. John Sumner, Spaceballs. All right. Here we go. This is a Michigan nature park worker. For my safety, I do not want to reveal which park system I work for, but it is important to the experience that I am a female 19-year-old. I work at a position in a Michigan nature park, not entirely dissimilar to that of a park ranger. My job duties usually include manning the entry booth, locking up the buildings at night, and although not the usual duty, sometimes they ask me to walk or take a parked vehicle through some of the trails, as I am on the younger side, but still have several years of experience at the park. I am relatively experienced outdoorswoman. I have had some odd things happen to me while on the job that I cannot quite explain. I am decently well versed in some areas of the paranormal, and although not entirely relevant to its note, that I am also a Norse pagan as part of family belief and often wear protective symbols as well. And to be honest, I've started wearing them more since these odd things have been happening. First one, I usually work the night shift, and this night in particular, it was raining a lot and the conditions were getting unsafe. I was posted outside in the booth, which is multiple miles from the office, so when things took a turn for the worse, my boss radioed me back. Some people who don't spend a lot of time in the woods don't realize how dark deep woods can get, much less in the dark at night. But I had both a flashlight and the light from the booth, which gave me probably 30 feet of visibility. And I went to grab my stuff so I can lock up the booth and get to my car. I swore I saw something that moved very human-like, but moved in a real odd way. Like the only way I can describe it is if a horse or deer was running like a person, but there was no people out there, and it was definitely not a deer. I'm probably not describing it the best way I can. So I get into my car ASAP, and it didn't start right away. Bit odd, but not entirely out of the character for my car. When I turned the key a second time, I saw something out of the corner of my eye that looked like whatever it was had gotten closer. The drive goes without incident, but I am still off about what I saw. And when I get closer, I radio in to see if they still need me to pick up anybody. And the radio doesn't work, which is very out of character. These radios are designed to work in awful conditions, and I was the closest I had been in any sort of signal for a while. I chalked it up to the weather and pulled into the office, but as I do, something runs past me. I did not get a good look at what it was, but it was not a person. And I am telling you, there is not an animal in the woods that I know that looks like either of this thing did. And that's all I can say. This happened more recently. This is the second experience. I was walking the trails for security purposes close to closing. We close at 11 p.m. and start our final walk at around 9 p.m. We do this to make sure that no one is stuck on a trail or hurt, so they aren't stuck overnight when there is fewer staff and none that patrol these trails. So I was walking one of the trails. I was pretty deep into the woods already, as I am a fairly fast hiker, and this is the trail I knew well. I was already about 2 miles into the trail when things start to get weird. I hear a noise off in the distance, and at first I thought it could be a coyote or an owl. So I pressed on. Coyotes stay off the trails, won't go after people unless they have dogs, and dogs are banned in these woods. And they know when we do our sweeps, so I wasn't concerned. But then the noises get weirder. I am used to the sounds of the woods, and I know the area and the wildlife very well, and I have never once in my life heard these sounds before. It did not come from any animal I recognized, and it definitely was not from a human. I've never aborted a sweep before, even when I have had coyote nearby, but it did not feel right, and I did get the hell out of there. Crawler. Beretta Vandy, how are you? Tito, how are you? Wild thing. Yeah, crawler. That's what I thought of, Aramic. I hate crawlers. Crawlers freak me out. But it turned out he caught my neighbor's parrot. Oh my God. I hope that's not a true story, but dang. Flesh golem. Morning, James. How are you, my friend? I am Kingo? I don't think so. Mega, how are you? I'm doing well. Shape-shifting is a real thing. Yeah, shape-shifting is a real thing. Nobody said it wasn't. Natal, how are you? I'm glad that you're here with us. I am glad that you are here with us. Thank you. Wrecker Girl, how are you? I apologize for missing you, dear. Just got off the road. I'm glad that you're here. The mind can't create what it hasn't seen before. Very true. Well, actually, here's something. It's kind of interesting that kids instinctively know what a Bigfoot or werewolf look like prior to even seeing a scary movie or hearing about, these creatures from their parents or whatnot, any kind of adult that would be around them. So that would be embedded in our brains, which I believe because, yeah, it's definitely imprinted. Danny Van Drimeny talks about it. I'm not sure there, SDL. I am not sure. It looks like Andy Davis did the fucking karate chop though. Tuh! What's up? He's like, Dark Shadows was great. Nadal, have a great week yourself, and thank you for popping in. It was nice to see you. This is probably my fifth Coke of the day. Spencer Clark, since you're interested in that, I don't know, have you ever, I just picked up a book just the other day, and you may be interested in it. Let me find it here. It's very, very decent. Looks very decent. I'm actually waiting for it to come in. Hang on 1 second. Of course, it's not going to fucking pop up right now. Oh, man. Shit. I'll remember it when we're talking, and I'll yell it out because it looked really good. It's a book written by a professor of physics talking about dimensional energy creatures that we can't see and how they feed off of our energy and sometimes materialize. So Similar to inorganic beings, what inorganic beings are, which is cool. Fifth Coke, well on your way to diabetes. I'm Wilford Brimley, and I got diabetes, and I eat oatmeal every goddamn day. I know, Aramek. But yeah, if you guys haven't, I didn't upload. There's an interesting thesis written from the University of Hawaii, I believe, called it's based on these creatures called inorganic beings, and supposedly what these creatures are is they are dimensional, and it says this in this thesis that scientists have proven that there are other dimensions and that these creatures feed on our fears, and if they do materialize in this world, they will feed on our fear of what we are thinking about. Like, let's say we're in the woods and we think about, like, I don't know, a fucking big bird or big donkey, I don't know, whatever. It may appear quickly like that and then disappear, just so our psyche or our brains can like fucking like see it and trigger our fear. We start running, and it feeds on our blood or our energy blood. Let me see if I can find in the oh, I think Tigger just pooped. I can smell it, little dirt bag. University of Hawaii. Type in inorganic beings after the live stream if you want to read something. And it's called Inorganic Beings. Inorganic beings are not, I'll read like the first thing, because I found this article very interesting. And they actually talk about the Nagal. They are forces neither good nor evil in the Nagal. But then there are different others, how they describe them. Inorganic beings are infinitely larger or longer in the consent or conscious infinity. Beings, where is the one where? If you want to read this, it's quite interesting. It's long, but just type in inorganic beings and then look for University of Hawaii system. It's www.Hawaii education. Really cool. I found it interesting. I don't know. I like shit like that. Old painless. Can I shoot my way out? I don't know. Enormous. How are you? Yeah, when Tigger dumps ass, the whole fucking house can smell it. A 38 revolver on what? A Dogman? Bigfoot? I don't know. I think you could, if you hit it in the eyeball, maybe. Did anyone see Delirium tonight? Did I miss Delirium? Janie? Anyone? Delirium tonight? No one? I didn't know Delirium. Jesus, I hope they're okay. Oh my God. I know that they're not doing well health-wise either. Oh, they've admitted to portals for a long time, Jared, for a long time. Donovan, I'd like to hear your experience if you don't mind sending it to me. I would get old painless. I when I go in the woods, I either carry a 9mm with Fort Scott munitions, tumble upon impact rounds. The only reason why I carry that is those rounds are because they stopped a black bear with one shot and they killed a wild boar with one shot. Or I carry my Caltech 12 gauge PS7 with me. You know, I think if you're a good shot and you just, you know, You don't need silver, Enormous. You definitely don't need silver. It's not Hollywood, my friend. If it bleeds, it dies. If it bleeds, it dies. Yeah, where is Delirium? But check out, I think they make 38s too. Tumble Upon Impact, I believe, Fort Scott Munitions, not ammunitions, but munitions. It's out of Fort Scott. And Tumble Upon Impact. And they're a fucking hellacious round. They're a great round. A little pricey, but I mean, if you're gonna put your life on the line, you might want to have, you know what I mean? Many years ago, I don't want to read this. Fuck. Many years ago, I was dating a guy that was really into camping and hiking, as I am. We spent a lot of time camping in primitive sites, which I prefer to car camp. He wanted to take me to visit his dear friends that lived in Kentucky. They have 150 acres in the Daniel Boone National Forest. The couple, I'll call them Dan and Gina, had an off-grid cabin that Dan had built. There was a cleared out space for home site, and Gina grew all of their veggies and fruit. The main property was bordered and divided by a very clear creek that flowed down from a cave further up the property. It was so clear you could safely drink from it. Gina's garden was magical. I am including the pic. After a long drive to get there, my boyfriend and I got out to meet Dan and Gina. She gave me a tour of the garden. Everything was lush. There was bees and butterflies, hummingbirds everywhere, and the place just felt sacred. They were true stewards of the land. As Gina was showing me a line of crops right near the tree line, I was distracted by a huge insect flying around me on my right side. I kept seeing it in my peripheral, darting toward me, then away. I'm not afraid of bees, but this one was really persistent and seemed large. I turned to look, and my mouth fell agape. There, hovering at my shoulder, was a tiny little man. He had inky black hair, pointed ears, and his clothing looked almost like it was made of deep green leaves. His wings seemed to be going very fast, and it sounded like a hummingbird. I had to blink a few times because I was not sure if it was drive fatigue. And then he put his hands up to his ears, wiggled his fingers, and blew a raspberry at me, flying off. I turned and looked at Gina. I had just met her and did not want her to think that I was a nut. She saw my face and giggled and said, in the sweetest Kentucky accent, "Did you see one of our fairies? They must like you. You'll get to see the fairy lights tonight and the rings tomorrow morning." I was still kind of in the state of disbelief, despite all the weird stuff I had seen in my life. I had never seen a fairy or gnome or anything similar. That night, we sat on the porch, surrounded by trestles full of perfumed flowers, listening to the sounds of the forest. I remember Gina tapping my arm and pointing out to the far end of the cleared yard. There were tiny lights in the grass, not fireflies. These were held a steady glow and moved up into the air, then down, then up, and repeated. This went on for at least an hour. We watched in silence. It felt like we were in a magical bubble. That night, my boyfriend and I camped outside in a tent. I slept deeply and woke early. Before anyone else, I tiptoed outside, walking barefoot in the grass. I remember the feeling of dew on my feet, and as I walked around, I saw 3 distinct circles in the grass, perfect imprints where the grass had been flattened down in a circle. The rest of my visit included a lot of incredible experiences, including getting to know Dan and Gina and enjoying being on an off-grid paradise. We hiked up to the cave and wandered toward the deep back, where there had been many petroglyphs left by tribes long ago. Dan told us that if you went at night, you could hear drumming and chanting in the caves, but we did not go back. I felt like it was almost trespassing, as though hundreds of eyes were on us. I just had such a feeling of reverence while I was on that land. Many years later, I think about them and wonder if they still live there, tending to the land and protecting their magical folk. That was an interesting experience. I like little experiences like that. I think I would not mind seeing a magical folk. Roland Malone, what's going on? How are you, my friend? George Coker, what's going on, buddy? How are you? I would not mind seeing one. I think I would be interested in seeing one of those little bastards. If it touched me, I might flick it. I'd be like, get the fuck away from me. No, I'm just kidding. That'd be funny, wouldn't it? He's like, ah. Duende? No. I don't think they're not like that. I don't think that is. They're more of a dog. I heard. Mr. Haunted, Wiley Metz and Mr. Haunted pop in together. What were you guys doing? No, I'm just kidding. Because $20 is $20. How you guys doing though? Mr. Haunted, it's always a pleasure. Wiley, always a pleasure to see both of you. I'm glad that you're both here with us tonight. I don't know. I'm not growing too fast. I'm a shower, not a grower. The fuck? I'm 775 away. 775 away. Clint, you got shadow banned? I didn't shadow ban you. Old Painless. There's new, what are they? Fucking, I think Remington came out with this new, they're called, fuck. I'll have to bring them up next week. If you're going to be here next week, Old Painless. They're Defender. And it's 3 double-aught buck with a slug in one fucking shell. Badass shot right there. Arrow! Thank you, my friend. Oh, this one looks cool. That's right. I wanted to share this one with you guys last week. All right, this one is a little long. And that's what she said. This one comes to us from Alabama. And I don't know if you guys remember me sharing an experience about a guy, his wife's family was from like the deep south, and there was a death in the family, and he had seen this really weird kind of alien-like creature. This reminded me of it, so I wanted to share it with you guys. It took moving, Clint, thank you so much, my friend. It took moving 1,000 miles away to finally feel comfortable enough to share this experience. This happened just before my senior year of high school over a period of 3 weeks in the summer. I was 17 years old, drug-free, and sober. At the most, I took an Advil for headaches now and then. And I just want to assure you, I was not on any mind-altering substance or long-term medication that could affect my cognitive ability. During the summer, my curfew was 11 p.m., and this occurred while driving home from, at the time, boyfriend's house, which took roughly 15 minutes. So let's say 10:45 at night. I was full of energy at this age and a night owl, so I was not even remotely tired. In fact, I was hyped up with a warm summer nighttime breeze, car windows down, singing along to the radio. I took a shortcut through the back roads to avoid going into the tiny city with the jerk cops. Also, one of the roads I took was super straight and flat, so I could really speed, and it feels great when you're a teenager. Right before that road, I had to take 2 very close turns to get onto it. First, I'd take a right turn that was more like a 90-degree, almost back the way I'd come. Then, in the exact half mile, it would be a left turn going onto that long straightaway, where I could really put the gas pedal down. Since it was only a half mile, I normally didn't speed up that much because the small stretch of road was more like packed gravel, and it would be a waste if I had to slow down again to take the turn to get onto the better road that I could really let loose. The tiny property on the inside corner of the left is where all of this went down. The house had recently been built there, 2 stories with a detached garage, and it seemed odd how quickly it had been erected as we built our family house and it took us a year to finish. I will start at the beginning because I believe it's all related. Week 1. I'm positively jamming to music. The wind whipping through my car feels great. I'm relaxed. I'm on a very familiar drive home. I slow down to make my right turn onto the rough rural road, just bebopping along with my lights illuminating something stunning sitting at the corner of the road. It is a wolf, a real wolf, a solid white real wolf. I know the difference in my dog breeds and a wolf. I love watching dog competitions, wildlife documentaries, and I have even seen a quarter wolf in person. They look different than a domestic dog. This was a wolf, and it was amazing and blew my mind. I slowed down even more while I turned the music down. I'm getting close to it, and I notice that it's not minding me at all. It is sitting perfectly still on the corner of the road, staring at the house, almost unblinking. Its ears didn't even flick toward me. All its attention was focused on this house. I was so close that I could reach out the window and brush its fur on the back of its head. I was smiling and amazed, but my mind was already churning. It made no sense for a wolf to behave like that, even less for there to be a white wolf in rural northern Alabama in the summer. I came to a complete stop behind it, marveling at its fur and presence. I felt euphoric, like I had just seen something rare and blessed. My mind made a jump to a local native story of an animal spirit guardian, and I started to wonder. I couldn't stay, though. My mom would never believe if I told her I was late because of my spirit wolf. With a sigh, I said goodbye to the wolf and drove home in a better mood than ever. I got to see something special that filled me with emotions of joy and peace. Week 2, I was driving home again and had been taking extra care to keep an eye out for the wolf, hoping to see it again around the area, so I drove extra slow with my window down and radio off. That was a horrible mistake. I should have realized what the presence of a guardian meant. It meant danger. I was on the short road approaching the new little house. Then I saw the thing that to this very day makes me question my sanity, my reality, impossibility of eldritch terrors as Lovecraft described it. It was crouched right before their mailbox, its limbs folded and pulled in tight with its hunched posture, yet its head was still taller than the box. It was a molded green and black with undertones of blue, and it looked wet and slimy all over. Its head was elongated, allowing for an extended maw full of razor-sharp teeth. The upper half of its body looked emaciated, with barely more than a frog-like thin skin pulled over its angular long bones, ropey muscles to hold it up. And at the end of its grossly stretched arms were equally terrible-looking fingers. While its legs had bulk to them, it looked equipped for running, with back-facing knees for sprinting, and tipped in rapture like claws. It looked tall, maybe 7 feet, maybe more, just folded up in this predator posture, waiting for prey. Then there were its eyes, solid black and sunken. I still want to vomit thinking about those eyes. Then I realized that it was going to look at me. It is going to see me, and there is no avoiding this creature. Panic and terror, unique to this creature, swallowed me instantly, feeling like I was tilting off the world I had always known and into the abyss where monsters like this exist. I could not breathe, but I had to get my window up. I had to get my window up or I possibly would have been ripped out and torn apart by those claws. blood would adorn the cabin of my car, and I would become an unsolved mystery. I had a manual crank window. Fuck me. I had to crank the window because I was scared of crashing into the water and not being able to get out of the car. I realized that there was far worse things in the world than crashing into water. Its head was turning toward me, and I had let off the gas, but I was still getting closer to it. It made me want to scream, but I had to get the window up first, and I was cranking it as hard as I could. I was starting to cry. I finally got the window up and closed. I put the pedal to the metal. Gravel road be damned. I thought I must not look at it as I pass. I must not look or make direct eye contact. I just shouldn't. It's not good to connect with these things. I've already seen too much. My tires had found grip, and I started to launch forward, passing it. In my peripheral vision, I could see it starting to unfold its limbs, and it sent a terrible chill down my spine. I am screwed. I am really screwed. Fuck, fuck, fuck. I am mumbling through my tears as I slid around the first turn, fishtailing for a moment. I rocketed down the road feeling sick. My heart was hammering. I had snot and tears running down my face. I glanced in my rearview mirror, and I could only see darkness as there was no street lamps out there. I used a trick my dad had mentioned before to softly tap the brakes, soft enough to turn the light on. Red lit up the dust that was billowing from my wake, but amidst the swirling chaos, I saw a darker shadow than the rest. A tall, thin shadow. I had enough and decided I was going to drive straight into lightning, not letting off the gas, or lighted roads, not letting off the gas. I was going 109 miles an hour, which is fast, and it's probably as fast as I can go before the governor kicks in. I even ran a stop sign at the end of the road because I was not going to get caught by this thing. There is many reasons. Me and my boyfriend finally broke up, and there's many reasons why this is not partial to it. Week 3. I refused to take a shortcut home anymore. For the reason I would have to leave my boyfriend's house a bit early. He'd been making fun of me all week. One of the days we went to the park to walk around, and on the way back, he decided he wanted to drive by the house where I saw the creature and I saw the wolf. I was hysterically begging him not to drive there, but he would not be dissuaded. So as we got closer, I could not stop him. I'm leaning in my passenger seat all the way back and pulling myself down, cowering in panic of getting near this place. I hid below the mirror and covered my eyes while panting, heavily reveling the traumatic night in mind. At one point, he stopped the car. "Spooky, you have to see this," he said. "No," I whined. "No, you have to see this. Look." And he changed his tone. Tears in my eyes, I uncurled and slowly peeked over the window. The house was gone, burnt clear down to the foundation, with only a handful of framing beams standing. The ground around the house was blackened with a perfect large circle. My boyfriend started to get out of the car, and I shouted, "No, let's get out of here." While I grabbed for his arm, but he easily avoided me and got out. He walked around the ashy piles of ruins for a bit, using a stick to poke at this. When he finally came back, he had an intense look of thinking on his face. There was no evidence of any personal belongings, furniture, power wiring, or interior walls. It doesn't even seem like other burned out houses. Something was weird. When we got to his house, we searched for news articles about any house fires in the area. There were not any. He called the closest fire station and was quickly brushed off by the person that answered the phone, like they didn't know about a fire at that point. I never wanted to see this place again. I went out of my way to avoid the roads in the area. Talking about it still gives me chest pains. My skin crawl and my eyes water. My brain has trouble because I know what I saw, a thing that is nothing like any other creature known to man. Yet, still I saw it. If you've heard of something that matches this description, let me know. Yeah, what a dickhead. Why would you do that? He's like, let's go check it out. She's like, no. Like, that's just mean. Aramik, have a great night. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. I appreciate it. Anastasia, how are you? Aramik, you know it's always a pleasure to see you, my friend. It's always a pleasure. Love you too, my brother. All right. This will be the last experience. And then, no, I'll do this experience, the last lizard story, and then one other experience to end the night. Whew. I have to change my glasses. These are hurting my eyes. Oh. That's better. I want to share my experience I had while training with my National Guard unit at Fort McCoy, Wisconsin. I have not ever been big into the paranormal activity as a subject of interest. I originally got into these topics by gawking at experiences and stuff, but deeper I dug, the more I found what seems to be genuine people sharing real experiences. I'm a member of the National Guard in Wisconsin. I moved from enlisted to officer via the ROCT and was attached to a unit in my prospective MOS while in the program. I don't really want to give specifics on my service as the community is small enough to identify me to peers in the unlikely circumstance. In 2014, my platoon decided to conduct nighttime land navigation at Fort McCoy in 2003, or from 2000 to 2030, sorry. While the Army is typically all about the buddy pairs, night navigation is one of the few cases you can do solo if you choose. Having done night land nav plenty of times before, I step alone, compass, map, headlamp. For those of you who don't know, land navigation involves seeking out markers on a course by plotting their coordinates on a map and moving there via terrain references and compass. At night, this is typically done without light as much as possible. When light is used, it is red. This minimizes damage to night vision. These methods also keep you concealed in the tactical environment when employed with noise discipline. I bring this up so you can understand a few things about my circumstance. I was moving through the woods while making a token effort to be hard to spot or hear. The woodland I was in was part of a larger forest system, but was frequently traveled. That night, we had come 15-ish soldiers clumped around. My illumination was toggled headlamp, but was toggled to be red when turned on. To cycle to white light, I had to turn it on twice. Cycle off, cycle what or solid white, off, flash off, blah blah blah. And then so my assignment points will take me to the other side of the course and back. A good hour and a half of walking as the crow flies. They are more or less in a straight line, so I estimate 2.5 hours out and back. I know if I come back too early, I might be given another set of points. So I resolve to walk out, take a break for an hour, then mosey back. The first half of it goes planned. I get my points without too much trouble and wind up sitting on a hillside at around 10 p.m. It's cloudy and the full moon is full. I can see wellish when the sky is clear, poorly when it is not. Occasionally, I see a red light bobbling in the distance below me. Once a pair of platoon members pass down the hill from me using white light to try and read their map. I startle them when I ask if they need help. At the end of my break, there is no more motions in my area. Most people had likely already walked out back. or they were too lost and took the handrail road home. I'm feeling pretty at one point of my surroundings, having sat at the same spot eating some Skittles for a good long while. Owl hoots, trees sway. I trot down the hill, step through some brush. I'm in a clearing where the prairie intersects the forest. There's some dead trees in the area. One of them is split halfway up. At the top, 15 feet, I can make out a head and shoulders silhouette against the clouds backlit by the moon. I walk up to ask how they got up there and if they are stuck, when the shadow twitches and I get the impression it's turned toward me. Hey, buddy. Hang on. Tigger wants to say hi to everybody. Hey, buddy. Want to say hi? Come here. Come here. Oh, come here, bub. Come here. Come on. You want to say hi? Hi. Come here. Come on. Come on. Come here. Come on. Don't be a fat ass. Oh, good boy. Come say hi to everybody. Say hi to everybody. Say hi, everybody. Say hi. Oh, you never come in. There you go. There you go. Oh, you're a good boy, huh? Yeah. He never says hi to you guys anymore. He always stays out, huh? Yeah, good boy, huh? There you go. There you go, good boy. Lay down. Here, lay on that. Lay on that, good boy. If they are stuck, the situation feels off, but I am not going to let my battle buddy punk me. I ask them if they need a hand. Mid-sentence, the moonlight comes back. It's clear the thing on the tall stump is not a soldier. The moonlight glimpse is the best look I get at this thing. It looks like a stretched out bald person. Its long arms are clutching the stump. I cannot make out its face, but it looks pinched. By that, I mean I couldn't see its eyes or mouth, like they were small and in the middle of its head. It's skinny, like it has not eaten, but it is tall and obviously strong to make such a vertical climb. It was definitely facing me. It probably was the whole time I was in the clearing, maybe since I came down that hill. Maybe my speech startled it. I swear loudly, it rapidly scurries down the trunk. I flick on my red lamp and I catch it on all fours moving toward the brush line in the direction I am heading. Automatically, I keep toggling the lamp to white. That means it goes off, then flash, then off, then flash, then off, and then back, and now it's on white. I scan the tree line, which is silent. When it moved, there was a scraping noise, plus the woodland brush is dense. If it was still running, I would hear it. I reason that it must have stopped. It must still be watching me. I fumble out my knife, keep looking around the woods in front of me. After ages, I start inching along the perpendicular path to the initial route of travel. At the angle, I will link up with the hardball road that runs up and down the side of the course. Once in the road, I can take it back to where my platoon is parked. My major problem is the road is 10 minutes of walking away from my current position, mostly in woodland. That can't be helped. I have to get out of the clearing first. My progress on the front is particularly and painfully slow. I'm fighting my natural urge to freeze in place like a deer in the headlights. After sidestepping a good 10 meters, I hear the corresponding rustling. I think I see movement. It's enough to get me to turn and bolt right down a down log, which tripped me. I scramble up to my feet and look back to the wood line where the audible commotion is. I glimpse a leg and ass moving back into the woods. At this point, I'm done with the whole situation, but don't want to run again. I start power walking toward the road, turning to look as much as I can while seeing what this thing is doing. After the movement of my own kit, I can hear it moving alongside of me. It's paralleling me. As I near the end of the clearing, I think I hear it picking up its pace to cut me off. I'd make the direct decision to sprint When I enter the woods, my path is clear, but I think I can hear it in my periphery. I do not stop. I run hard until I hit paved road. I bite it hard a few times along the way, but recover with frantic speed I cannot consciously replicate. Once on the road, I run perpendicular to the forest until I don't think I hear it anymore. I'm winded from my breakout run from the middle of the road. I have good visibility. It's quite a while. I hear a bunch of branches moving around 30 feet in the air from the woods. After a while, some headlights pop up. LMTVs, it's 12:15. What happened, cadet? Did you get lost? You're covered in mud. Did you fall down? Why are you out of breath? I got lost on my way back. Yeah, I rolled down the peak. I ran to get back in time. LOL, cadet was lost. I knew better than to claim that I had seen a monster. Already my reaction had left me feeling foolish. In the years since drilling the FMC, I have never experienced anything like it. Fort McCoy does not have a history of disappearances. As far as I know, neither do the closest towns, Sparta and Toma. I've done night vision alone many times without any issue. This was less from courage and more for me deciding. I must have misinterpreted the situation after diving into paranormal experiences and such I've been sharing. Anyway, that's my account. Thank you. I can't believe Tigger popped in. Dude, how awesome was that? Tigger. What's up, Jerry from Texas? How are you, buddy? He never comes in. He started the live stream, and now he's ending it with us. All right. This is the last lot lizard story of the night. He has what's that? It's some kind of fresh food that comes from. It's in the kitchen, at the refrigerator aisle. He doesn't eat a lot. He's just big. He's just big. 5 rings. Boom, boom, boom. What's up, brother? Yes, enormous. Yes, thank you. Yeah, he is very healthy. He's my best friend. He was born in my house. He's never known anybody except me and my family. He's just my boy. All right, man, these fucking hurt my eyes too tonight. What the fuck? Oh, my glasses are killing me tonight. Oh, I don't like these either. Oh, sorry, guys, my eyes hurt bad tonight. I don't know why. The smell of diesel and stale coffee clung to the night air at the all-night oasis. A truck stopped so far off the beaten path, it practically had its own gravitational pull. Amidst the idling rigs and the flickering neon of the eat sign, Lizzo held court. Not from the gilded throne, but from the cracked vinyl booth of the diner, sipping lukewarm coffee, her eyes sharp as a hawk, missing nothing. Lizzo, the self-proclaimed queen of the lot lizards, was more than just a working woman. She was the unofficial mayor, therapist, and brass-knuckle bouncer of the Asphalt Kingdom. Her reign was not built on beauty pageants, but on wit, a surprising strength, and an encyclopedic knowledge of trucker lore. Tonight, however, felt different. A restless hum vibrated beneath the usual cacophony of static charge in the humid air. The hum intensified, morphing into an unholy high-pitched giggle that seemed to rip from the fabric of the sky itself. A blinding flash erupted from above, followed by a sickening thud that shook the entire lot. Every dog in a mile radius howled. Lizzo, mid-sip, did not flinch. She just narrowed her eyes at the source. A gleaming chrome-plated circus tent, complete with spinning candy cane striped poles, had just landed squarely in the middle of the parking lot, crushing a late model pickup truck beneath its absurd bulk. From what appeared to be the tent's main flap, grotesque figures began to emerge. They were clowns, all right, but not the friendly kind. Their makeup was smeared, their smiles painted on like jagged scars, and their oversized shoes clamped ominously on the asphalt. One, taller than the rest, clutched a giant squeaker mallet. Another wore a balloon animal that seemed to pulse with an unnatural light. Their eyes, though hidden in the grotesque paint, radiated an undeniably malevolent glee. Well, ain't that just a kick in the head, Lizzo muttered, watching a trucker named Gus, who had been admiring his rig, get encased in a sticky pink cotton candy like goo that instantly hardened, leaving him frozen in a horrified rictus, a giant novelty prop. Chaos erupted. Truckers, roused from sleep, stumbling out of their cabs only to be met by giggling monsters wielding bizarre weapons. One killer clown, short and squat, brandished a flower that squirted not flour, but a vibrant purple gas that, upon contact, turned the portly dinner cook into a marionette with strings attached to his limbs. Puppeting him into a clumsy jig, he danced the jig and ended with him face planting into a pile of discarded French fries. Then they spotted Earl. Earl wasn't a trucker. He was a regular at the Oasis, a gruff old mechanic with a grease-stained baseball cap and a fondness for cheap beer and conspiracy theories. He was attempting to hotwire his beat-up sedan, trying to make a break for it. "Looky here, Barnaby," squeaked the clown with an impossible wide painted grin, pointing a comically oversized finger at Earl. "A prime specimen needs a bit of jazzing up." Before Earl could even grunt a protest, a net woven from what looked like brightly colored licorice strings ensnared him. He flailed, cursing. The clowns dragged him, surprisingly strong for their ridiculous outfits, towards their bizarre tent. Lizzo pushed out of the booth, her jaw set. "Oh, no, you don't," she muttered. Earl might be a pain in her ass, but he was a pain in her ass. And besides, nobody messed with the Oasis on her watch. Through the tent flap, she saw him. Earl was tied to a Narish sparkling pole. The lead clown, a towering brute with a rainbow wig, held a device that hummed with a sickening energy. "Behold the majestic Earl," he boomed, his voice distorted by a hidden speaker. "Soon to be the star of our cosmic menagerie. The one and only tutu-wearing lion tamer." As the clown activated the device, a beam of shimmering iridescent light engulfed Earl. A scream, then a gurgle. Lizzo saw his baseball cap dissolve, replaced by a fluffy magenta wig. His grimy overalls shimmered, transforming into a sequenced hot pink leopard, leotard, complete with a ridiculous fluffy tutu. His face mercifully remained Earl's, but his eyes were wide with terror that transcended the comedic horror of his attire. In one hand, an animal cracker, and in the other, a tiny collapsible whip. He let out a whimper that sounded suspiciously like a meow. "All right, that's it," Lizzo roared. "That wasn't just the invasion. That was an insult to the very fabric of the truck stop universe." Lizzo did not carry a gun, but she carried something far more potent. Years of street smarts and the intimate knowledge of her turf. She grabbed a greasy wrench from the dinner table, a weapon as familiar to her as her own reflection. Her first target was a clown holding a transforming device. With surprising agility, she vaulted over the table. Surprising the gesture, the wrench met his temple with a satisfying thwack. Sending him sprawling, his rainbow wig askew, the device clattered harmlessly away. You want a freak show, hun? You got one, Lizzo yelled, dodging a pie-shaped projectile that exploded into noxious green sludge behind her. She knew these clowns weren't just funny. They were alien, vulnerable to human ingenuity, and seemed susceptible to blunt force trauma. She spotted the clown with the squeaking mallet charging her. Instead of dodging, Lizzo feigned and rolled over, grabbing a handful of discarded fries and flinging them at the clown's face. While he recoiled, she kicked a bucket of soapy mop water in his path. He slipped, his oversized feet falling and landing with a splash. God damn it. Lizzo did not hesitate. She grabbed a nearby tire iron and swung it like a baseball bat, connecting with the mallet, sending it spinning through the air and landing squarely on the clown's own head. A puff of glitter and a deflated squeak. The lead clown, seeing his subordinates falling like bowling pins, bellowed, "Foolish earthling! You cannot stop the great galactic circus!" He raised his hands, and a volley of exploding confetti bombs shot towards Lizzo. Lizzo, however, had an ace up her sleeve, or rather her her tanker truck. She darted behind the nearest rig, a massive fuel hauler, and with grim determination, she located the emergency fuel cutoff valve. A swift yank and diesel began to gush. The clowns, blinded by their own hubris and exploding confetti, didn't notice the growing slick beneath their oversized shoes until it was too late. Lizzo flicked her ever-present Zippo lighter. "Here's your grand finale, boys," she shouted, tossing the lit lighter onto the diesel-soaked ground. A whoosh, a roar, and then the inferno erupted, not explosive, but a contained fierce flame that singed the clowns, ridiculous costumes, and forced them to shriek in dance panic. Their cotton candy cocoons instantly melted into sticky, sugary puddles. The giant circus tent began to bubble and wrap under the heat. God damn, my eyes are killing me. "Our show! Our magnificent show!" shrieked the lead clown, frantically flapping his arms. Amidst the chaos, Earl still had his tutu and leotard on, had a moment lapse of clarity. His eyes, though still wide, held a sparkle. He saw the retreating clown, saw the melting tent. He grabbed a tiny whip and, with surprising burst of courage, began to crack it. Not at the clowns, but at the ground, making snapping sounds. "Get out of here, you mangy clowns! Shoot! Get out of here! Go back to your spaceship!" The clowns, startled by this unexpected defiance from their tutu-wearing lion tamer, stumbled backwards, slipping on the diesel. Their chrome tent, now a melting blob, began to retract, sucking them back into the grotesque interior with a final pathetic boing. The fire eventually subsided, leaving behind smoking, sugary mess. The chrome tent was gone, vanished as quickly as it appeared, leaving only a sickly, sweet odor that managed to remain as Gus's pickup. Lizzo stood amidst the wreckage, wiping the grease from her brow. Earl, still in his ridiculous outfit, slowly entangled himself from the pole. His eyes blinked, returning to some semblance of normal. Though a faint, lingering manic gleam remained. "Lizzo," he croaked, looking down at his ensemble. "What in the—" Lizzo just chuckled, a low rumble sound. "Looks like you officially made the cut, Earl. Galactic Circus, huh? Guess you're famous now." Earl shuddered. "Never thought I'd be star material, especially not like this." He tugged at the tutu. "Think I can get this thing off?" Lizzo surveyed her domain. Now scarred but standing. "Probably, but you earned it. And the next time those intergalactic goofballs show up, you know who they'll be looking for, right?" She patted his shoulder. A small smile played on her lips. "The truck stop still needs its queen, Earl. And it looks like it's got its own resident lion tamer now, too." Oh, Fuck, my eyes are killing me, guys. All right. I have got to rest my eyes. I apologize. I hope you guys had a decent night with me. Thank you for hanging out with me. And please stay safe. Yeah, I don't know. I have new eye drops in my bag. I should have brought them up. It's like going into my eyes, giving me a headache. But, all right. With that, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'll see you guys next week with 3 more lot lizard stories and a shit ton of other experiences. And with that, yes, yep, he's out there tonight. He's out there every Saturday. On Friday night, he's not there. Saturday morning, I wake up, boom, right there. Sunday morning, I'll wake up, he's gone. It's weird. Sully! Yes, everyone, keep Shackleneck in your prayers, guys. Please. Please keep him in your prayers. And with that, stay safe. Have a good rest of your weekend. And I can't wait to see you guys next week. And I'm sorry that my eyes hurt so bad that I couldn't do 3 hours, but I tried. All right. Good night, guys.